Alright, so this is the year 1988 in Spider-Man comics. Let's get on with it. Okay, this video I'm going to try to make a lot shorter than the other ones. I'm just going to kind of give a basic summary of what happened throughout the year instead of going issue by issue. For that, you can still check spiderman.erictoribio.com. That'll have all the same stuff, big, detailed description of each issue, so, there you go if you still want that. But I'm going to try to keep these short. Here we go. The first major story of the year was about Sin Eater being released from jail. I don't know if you remember who the Sin Eater was, but he killed police captain Jean DeWolf, and then a judge and a priest, and yeah. So he was, kind of like a serial murderer, and Spider-Man had a tough time bringing him down. And yeah. So it turned out the police officer investigating the murder of Jean DeWolf was the one that actually killed her and the other people. He turned out to be the Sin Eater. But it turns out in this that he was actually romantically involved with Jean DeWolf. So yeah. But yeah, anyway, apparently when Spider-Man brutally beat him before sending him to jail, he actually did a number on him, gave him a limp and everything. And yeah, so at the end, the Sin Eater purposefully gets himself killed because the Sin Eater persona and his normal Stan Carter persona are like two separate things, kind of. So he just wants to kill off the Sin Eater, so he kills himself. So yeah, then one of the next issues, Spider-Man plays a football game with some kids and some older bullies, and the Watcher is wagering about it with another being who got the better of him. So basically the fate of the world hangs in balance on a football game that Spider-Man's in. But yeah, then there's also Peter substitute teaches, and an adoring student freaks out and puts on this mechanical superpowered suit thing that he made, and it short circuits or something, and he goes on a rampage. Also, Dr. Octopus gets free again, and he gets over his paralyzing fear of Spider-Man, and he gets away. And some South American government gives a new agent a serum and a suit to make him the new Tarantula, because the previous one died. There's also another story about a serial killer being tracked by Dakota North, and the serial killer turns out to be a model friend of Mary Jane's. Or acquaintance, maybe. I don't know. Whatever. But yeah, then another storyline that was kind of funny. Peter accidentally gets drunk when someone spikes the punch at a party, and then he fights the Hobgoblin at the Lincoln Tunnel while he's pretty sloshed. And somehow he manages to win. The big thing this year was they finally introduced Venom. He shows up first at Peter's apartment and scares Mary Jane, and then it's also when the Eddie Brock character is first introduced, which surprised me, because I thought he was introduced earlier and then they kind of, showed that he was Venom or something like that, but this is the first time I ever see Eddie Brock. He just tells a story about how he has a grudge against Peter because Peter unknowingly ruined his career. But yeah, Venom almost beats Spider-Man by webbing him to the bell of the church where the symbiote changed hands from Spidey to Eddie Brock. And but yeah, then Spidey breaks free and manages to knock out Venom, and then he's put in a containment tank in the Fantastic Four's headquarters. Peter and MJ then move to a new apartment, and Peter burns the black and white suit in an attempt to forget about Venom. And Spider-Man also helps Silver Sable hunt down the son of a Nazi war criminal. That was pretty fun. And then another big thing this year was J. Jonah Jameson publishes a book full of Peter's Spider-Man photos, and then sends Peter on a book tour. So he's traveling all around the country and you get to see different locales, and he's being Spider-Man in all these crazy places. His first stop is California, and he runs into the Black Fox, the Cat Burglar, and the Prowler as well. Also, another big thing this year was that Tombstone is first introduced, and I must say he is pretty awesome. Definitely one of my top 5 favorite villains so far. He's just so cold and murderous. I don't know, he's a good villain. Joe Robertson apparently knew him when they were in high school, and he tries to confront him about a murder he witnessed, and then Tombstone breaks Joe's back. So, yeah. Then Joe Robertson spends weeks in physical therapy, and he gives a statement to the police about the murder that he witnessed Tombstone commit like 20 years ago. And then as soon as he's back at the Bugle, some feds show up and arrest him for obstruction of justice and being an accessory to murder. Yep. Also, Punisher is captured by Kingpin, and Kingpin uses a new superpowered employee called the Persuader to make Punisher work for him. It doesn't last long before Punisher breaks the trance. And also the Black Cat comes back looking for Peter, but she can't find him because he's moved. So, we'll see where that goes. And also, the Chameleon comes back, and he is now using a much different and much better method of disguise. Instead of using Mission Impossible masks to instantly change into other people, he made his skin featureless and malleable, and then uses an electronic device on his belt buckle to transform him into anybody he sees. So, as it's a little more far-fetched, but honestly, it's kind of a little more believable, if that makes any sense. Anyway, Mary Jane gets kidnapped by the owner of their new apartment building, whose name is Jonathan Caesar, and she is held in a soundproof room below her and Peter's apartment. Spider-Man then desperately tries to find her and thinks it's one of Spider-Man's enemies, and then he mistakenly fights Taskmaster, who is actually a really awesome villain, and then he fights 2 guys named Sticks and Stone, who are Caesar's bodyguards. Mary Jane actually escapes and then ends up saving Spidey, so that was pretty neat. Yeah. Also, Betty Leeds is kidnapped and brainwashed by a new cult, and Spidey and Flash have to go rescue her. And then there's also an issue about Peter promoting his book in Vegas when he gets caught up in some game between 4 commandos who are trying to kill each other. And then the Hulk shows up, but people call him Mr. Fix-It. And then the issue ends, and it says it continues in the Incredible Hulk number 349. Screw you, Mom! And then in the annuals, there's a story running through all of them about the High Evolutionary's quest to purify the human race before taking everybody to the next stage of evolution. He's just basically going around wiping out bad guys, or just lowlifes pretty much. But yeah, he studies the Gwen Stacy clone who was made a while back by the Jackal, and turns out she's not really a clone. The Jackal just found somebody of similar build and injected them with a genetic virus that changed their DNA to make it a near duplicate of the original Gwen. The High Evolutionary is also making common animals into humanoids. He makes a cow into a humanoid. It's kind of weird. Then also there's an introduction of a new hero. I think hero. It's some Spanish or Mexican lady who was possessed by some extra-dimensional being named Poison, who gave her some ridiculously crazy power, and then when Poison leaves her body to go back to her own dimension, she leaves some of her power for the lady, who goes on to fight lowlives, pretty much. So, yeah. I would say this is a really good year. Definitely one of the best, if not the best. I mean, there was some, mediocre issues, but there's a lot of good stuff. The whole, Tombstone, Venom, bunch of different things. Yeah. I'll catch you in 1989.